while I eat a candy bar. Best candy bar ever. Awesome. I know the first time I get a proper mic hooked up, that's what you guys wanted to hear. No! You got some chocolate on you trying to eat my candy bar? Oh boy. That's why we do not eat at the workstation. Get chocolate, now grab your little fingers. Okay. Right on our face. Alright, here we go. This dude is getting new hands. So he's got new hands. So I just, obviously I did that off camera because he didn't see it. So good. Oh, man. So good. Okay. This has been just roughed in. Just heat up some clay and pound it out. Actually, before that, I had to cut the others off. I didn't actually cut it off. I just cut it down. I just took the knife and just whittled down because several people made the comment that his hands were way too large. And I hadn't seen his hands yet until the other day. The new episode came out, and voila. Such a good candy bar. Candy bar and then vitamins. Yeah, that's a good combination, James. Anyway, saw a picture of him using the Force again, or attempting to. I also saw the actors list, or the casting list. Did you guys see who was in that episode? It was Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown has done everything. He played the guard in Shawshank Redemption. The hardest screw to ever walk a turn at Shawshank. And he did the voice for Lex Luthor on the Superman cartoon, Warner Brothers Superman cartoon for years. That was great. He was excellent in that. Great voice to do that. Apparently he played a Devronian, and that just makes me want to see him. I wish he'd gotten to play Hellboy. That would have been excellent. But he also did the voice for one of the ambassadors or kind of rebel leaders in the Rebels TV show, Dave Filoni's Rebels TV show. And so him coming back for this, which, is Dave Filoni doing this again, that was really cool. And then apparently Tonks from Harry Potter played Twi'lek. That was kind of cool to see. Don't know if she has any connection with the Star Wars universe. I don't remember there being any. She may have voiced Twi'lek before in that. And the only reason I say that is because they seem to have brought the crew back. Because apparently Matt Lanter played a New Republic soldier. You guys have seen this show, I guess. You guys have seen this episode. I'm assuming. We don't have it here in Japan, but Matt Lanter played this soldier. That's hilarious. That's the guy that did the voice for Anakin in the Clone Wars, the TV show, the Clone Wars. And that was Dave Filoni's thing too. And then at the very end, it looked like there were some X-Wing pilots. Dave Filoni was one of the pilots, and then the other two pilots were the writer and producer. Man, this is getting funny, man. There's some inside jokes in this show. I'm liking it. Anyway, and then Bill Burr, who I know to be a friend of Jon Favreau's, played somebody. Sharpshooter or something? Anyway, on to fixing his hands. How's this look? Is this about right? from the photos that I've seen, this looks pretty good. Now, from the photos I saw, he didn't have any wrinkles in his hands. I've been going around giving him like wrinkles, and he didn't really seem to have any. But anyway, so this is how we do it without harming his little ear. This is how we do it. We go about slathering on this Chavant, and I said in the last video, this is Chavant NS60, made here in Japan. It's non-sulfur, works at 60 degrees Celsius. It's warm enough to work with. And then, yeah, after it cools down, it turns kind of hard. It's kind of like working with chocolate. Honestly, it feels a lot like, I don't know if it tastes like chocolate, but it kind of feels like it. Anyway, and then this is the tool that I had to remake it this morning, actually, so it's nice and clean. But this is how it's made. It's just guitar wire. And guitar wire it's got these ridges on it, and you cut a bit off and stick it into a brass tube and then crimp it. I like mine nice and clean. I learned this trick from Sculpture Geek. There are a lot of, I mean, it's an old clay tool. I mean, it's not like, I don't think he came up with it. I know he didn't come up with it. But this is it's a really good and easy tool to use. And anyway, his way of making it is the kind of the version that I use, and that dude is an absolutely fantastic sculptor. That guy he just blows me away. Between Sculpture Geek, Stephen Richter, Philip Robinson, who does not have a YouTube channel. Well, he does, but it's for his fish. Philip's a good guy. He and I have known each other for a couple of years. 5 years, I guess. He makes some Yodas that are absolutely fantastic. He's the first guy that ever made a Yoda that I went and got one. Then it inspired me to make my own, and so I made some other Yodas. My first visual effects reel was supposed to be a Star Wars fan film, so we made a Yoda puppet for it, and I made this animatronic puppet head for Yoda, and it was supposed to be fantastic. And then my wife got pregnant. We put it off, and then I ended up getting hired. Man, my English is awful. What's the matter? Tu parles en français, c'est bien. Most of my audience, I'm guessing, it says by YouTube Analytics, speak English. Nobody here speaks Japanese. After my intern gets back from his sabbatical, he's taking tests right now at school. He's studying to be a painter, an oil painter, and I'm teaching him how to be a concept artist. But as soon as he gets back from his tests at school, he's going to join us on the show. And my boy doesn't speak any English. We need to fix that. You guys going to help me fix it so he can get a job in California or someplace if he wants. Japan is great. Japan has some really, really cool work opportunities. But that being said, the number of movies that they make here is limited. So you end up doing a lot more commercial work, which is usually what I end up doing. Some TV stuff. And that's fine. I do branding for some companies, and then you end up spending most of your time doing advertising and such for them, which pays really well, so don't knock it. But you don't get the creative freedom in advertising that you do in other things, just because, well, no, it's not true. You don't really get it in anything. Unless you're the director, but then the director's got to follow the producer, and then the producer's got to follow the distribution house. And then you're all over the place and nobody gets to say anything, and it's designed by a committee. I am not a committee. And if you guys don't know what movie that's from, you are on the wrong channel. Just saying. Anyway, this is not a difficult thing I'm doing here. I'm just kind of raking this out to get the final shape for the hand. And then just because we're trying to work things to a point where we can get the clothes, we're going to speed this up. I'm not going to time lapse this. I'm just going to actually put it aside and finish it later. I want to show you very quickly how to do the eyes. I've had a lot of questions on the eyes, so well, I lied. I do want to finish this up really quick. I just don't like unfinished stuff. But I've had a lot of questions on the eyes, so I want to answer that as best I can, as quick as I can. And I would really appreciate if you guys like this stuff. You guys, I don't know if you're just here for Baby Yoda, which I'm probably sure most of you are. I know most of you are. But I wish you'd hang around for some other stuff, because I make a lot of other stuff. I keep saying stuff. One thing being working on an Indiana Jones Grail tablet. Making a video on that one too, so stick around for that. And you guys can shoot. I make furniture. Man, I make a lot of weird stuff. It's all over the place on this channel. Well, I don't know. It's all over the place in this office. I figured I might share it on the channel, and if you guys like that kind of stuff and want to stick around, I'll share it with you, which you may like. As a designer, it is my firm belief that if you can't do a lot of different kind of things, you won't have the experience or the knowledge pool from which to pull when somebody says, hey, what about this? And you're kind of like, I have no idea. I've never dealt with that before. Well, good way around that is to get your hand in a bunch of little pies, get your fingers in all these little pies, and your design will go through the roof. That being said, this right here is, let's call that good enough for government work. And there we go. All right, so it's the back of his hand, and then what we'll do is we'll just take a kitchen sponge and you just kind of rub out the the marks, the rake marks that your tools made. And there you go. And it starts to look more and more like skin. This is just a very quick and easy skin texture for people who are kind of in a hurry. And in this case, for this, I'm in a bit of a hurry. I've got to finish this a certain time. Now, I still want it to look perfect and screen accurate, but I do not know if Baby Yoda has a lot of skin texture. On the other hand, rough side and then smooth side gives the impression of kind of wrinkles in the skin like this. And when he gets molded and then cast in silicone, this stuff will show up really nicely. And because silicone is semi-translucent, the subdermal scattering will make these little things pop out and just be great. And I'll see how quick and easy that was to make that look good. Now, let's see if we can get the rest of where we fixed up to look something like that. And here we go. All right, so his face, we filled in a little of this because this is not supposed to be quite so prevalent. The eye wrinkles are supposed to be a little bit more prevalent, so we pulled those out. His under eye wrinkles is what everybody's missing. Nobody's getting that, and that's what's supposed to be, kind of makes him childlike. He's got bags under his eyes, but his whole eye, his eye structure slopes down. It follows this kind of arch, and it just boop, goes more or less straight to his cheeks. then his cheeks go under, and then this underlip here, when his mouth opens, this part folds right there, and it's the cutest looking thing. So that's what I think everybody's missing. And then this area right here goes more or less straight, well, not straight up, but say like if this is his eye line, bottom of the eye line, this goes up at like maybe an 85-degree angle, and then it curves over, and then his eye here is at a 45-degree angle, his eyelid, and then it meets that and curves over. And his eye, the first version I did, his eyebrow and his eyelid were so thick, and they're not thick at all. So anyway, we're going to put that aside for a few minutes. Man, he looks like a little gremlin. Somebody said he looked like a something Freaky Freddy. I don't know what that was. Doll. I had to look it up on the internet, and dang, he sure did. I seem to remember that from the 80s or something. I don't know how old you guys are. I'm like 45, so don't I look good for 45? Anyway, his eyes. There you go. Now somebody was asking about these, how you make them, what you get, where you get this stuff from. I will put a link down in the description below. But there are one other quick thing. To make a silicone character, silicone is translucent, so you need to color it. You need to color it with, this is just a sample test, but you need to color it with silicone pigments, otherwise it won't cure. This is green, which is way too green, so we're going to have to make lighter shades of that. But all that being said, pigment alone is not good for, it just won't bring you the realism that you want, so you have to use flocking. They don't make green flocking that I know of. And so flocking is just chopped up bits of nylon, really, really fine chopped up bits of nylon. And so I got different colors of nylon ribbon, and then you just chop it fine. And I'm just throwing it in the bag here for now. Wear a mask like this. Well, you don't have to go this level, but wear a mask if you're using something like this, because this stuff, man, you don't want nylon in your lungs ever. Not cool. But it gets really, really fine, and you just want to mix all those different colors together. And once I've got enough, I'll put it all in a little paint mixer or something and just mix it up, and then throw that in the silicone. And this stuff will not dissolve in the silicone, and yet it will still give a kind of a subdermal texture to it, and it'll look good. Okay, so right now we're going to be making eyeballs here. Yeah, so this is an eye I made for Mad Eye Moody, and doesn't swivel around, but it was just kind of a little thing. Anyway, resin. One way to make an eyeball of resin. Another, that's a screw up, but that's another way. This is a very easy and effective way to do it, and this was ridiculously easy. This is just something round. In this case, it was this. I went and bought a metal dome. It doesn't have to be metal, it can be glass or anything, a ball that is whatever diameter you want, and I just stuck it in some silicone and let it cure, and then pulled it out. And there are two ways that we're going to use that. And very quickly, what I did for this one, and it's not very glossy anymore because I dropped it and tinted it, and then I ran it over with some polish, but didn't polish it nicely enough. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is just put some clear resin in there, slosh it around. It could be UV resin, doesn't matter if you want to stick it in a UV lamp, that's fine. And then let that cure, and then paint it from the back to look like an eye. And what I did was I painted the black pupil, and then I did some gold to make it kind of look like from the top it's reflecting down, and then some brown and black, and painted the whole thing. So mildly effective. Works okay. Now this is the third way, and this is my favorite way, is that I 3D print this, and there's a tutorial on Instructables.com for this that's great, but this is an old technique, to be honest. I'm not sure if the dude needs to be getting credit or not, but you can get a dome that is this size, and this is a 30 millimeter, and that's 28 to 32 is roughly human size. Yoda's eyes are 34 millimeter with a 13 millimeter iris. That's Yoda, the puppet Yoda. And more or less the same is true for Baby Yoda, I think, though I think it honestly looks better if his if his eyes are about 34 to 38. These are 34, these are 38. And this comes from a company in Germany, and this is what yeah, so this is the 34, and it has a smaller iris bit in there, but you paint it black, and I just painted the whole thing black, and you can't tell. This one has an iris that's pre-made in there as well, and this is a larger iris, so I just painted that black. And then you just kind of go through and do some brown squiggly lines, and then paint the back with black, and you have an eye. It is really easy to do. This is a glass blank. It's for hand-painted eyes. Just takes some practice. You saw me doing it in the first video under time-lapse. Just grab some glass eyes and paint those. So 2 different sizes. Both of these work fine for Baby Yoda. 38, 34. I'd suggest the 34. That's what I'm going to be buying more of. These work great if you want to make a little bit more dollish, cartoonish, cutish version. But 34, 38 glass eyes from KL-Glasaugen. Yeah, that. It's been 30 years since I've studied German, so there you go. All right, that's the hands and eyes, I think. It's not the most thorough, but quick job. So let me know if you have any questions. And see you next time.